There was a question I did want to answer up here that said, how often do you allow yourself to use visual mix tricks to check yourself? And if not you, how often should a younger mixer use visual aids? I don't know what younger means because I'm pretty young. So
less experience.
I know, yeah. I don't know what you guys are talking about. I'm below 40. I'm below 35.
Fucking old man.
Yeah, I know. I use visual tricks on every instance of a mix, meaning I use analyzers all the time because, for example, and then 2 points on this. So I'm going to go on for like a minute on this because it's important.
Let's go.
So I use FabFilter Pro Q3, as we talked about, for most of my subtractive EQ moves, dynamically 99% of the time, right? We've talked about this in previous weeks.
So say this again. You don't do much straight up EQ. You're using dynamic EQ and saturation
99% of the time. So right. So now, but the reduction in that, I always have the analyzer on. So, and I always double check myself on every move. EQs vary on their accuracy to what frequency is what. So if I'm EQing and there's a peak at 400 hertz, let's just use a nice even number at 400 hertz. I turn it up, I listen to it, I'm like, yeah, I don't want that shit in there. And I pull it out. I come back 30 seconds, a minute, a couple minutes later, and I check 380 and I check 420 every time, because 400 isn't always 400 on an EQ. Every EQ varies. So I use the visual to see where the peaks are that I'm already like, oh, I know I don't want that 400 hertz area, but maybe it is at 380 and my ears are fucking human and they're not superhuman. And I think it's 400, but it's 389. Like, I'm not going to judge myself because I couldn't hear that 20 hertz difference in that range. That's like nearly impossible. So I want to use that aid, but I will always double check. So those are the 2 points.
Yeah. None of those analyzers are doing, an analysis of every single number in the hertz band, in the frequency band. So it's not like doing 441 and 442 and for 401, 402, 403. So using these things as guides are great, but then you got to use your ears.
And no visual technique, no visual trick is analyzing taste. And that's what we all get hired to do. And that's the second point that's really important is I'm going to decide, someone like me is going to decide. That's a very false statement. That was
don't argue with the chat. Don't argue with the chat.
No, it's a very false statement. There's no such thing as the best speakers, hands down. You can't say the best. There's no best. There can't be a best. Because then there's no option for anything to outbest that thing.
I saw it and I knew you were gonna react to it. Let's stick to the thing real quick. I think finish your thought on it. Finish your thought on it.
I got distracted by false information in the chat. That's funny. I don't even see. That's what I said. I would say my favorite speakers are PMCs. They're not the best speakers.
Yeah.
I wonder what 40 speakers sound like at his and Drake's new studio that he custom built. They might be better than them, but they might not. They're not. He's not gonna say they're the best. They're his new favorite. Sorry, hands down.
Hands down. Put your hands down.
Yeah. So we choose to adjust frequencies and moves based on our taste and how we hear things. And professionals get asked to do things for their taste most of the time. No one's like, oh, I want to get Jon Castelli to mix a song. He's going to make it sound so fucking sterile. You know, that's what we want. It's like, oh, he's going to give me that low end energy. He's going to do what clarity. He does. He's going to do what he does. So I have to decide whether when I take out that 400, do I like 380 better or do I like 420 better? Like, it's stupid to talk about numbers like that, but that's the most precise way I can get down to it, is that these analyzers are not telling us what to do, but they're very good guides, and AI is really great. And they're pretty precise. So like when I hear 400s off, my ears tell me, I look at the visualizer in FabFilter and I'm like, damn, I was right. Like 99% of the time, I'm hearing the problem that the visualizer is telling me, which means that it's doing really well.
We were talking about the frequency in terms of sort of importance, or whether there's a hierarchy. Like taste is the ultimate thing. That's ultimately what you're developing in your career. You make things a certain way. You learn how to do a bunch of stuff, and then you reduce the things that you don't want to do as part of what you like and what your creative sound is and that sort of thing. So taste is sort of the ultimate thing. analyzers are really good for giving you a guide on frequencies that are poking out. But the other thing is it doesn't give you any information on time and phase. And both of those relate to other instruments, relate to the mix. So all of a sudden, if the analyzer says, hey, 800 is really poking out, it might be good to, use a dynamic EQ to duck that, but that still might not solve your problem. It might be wider than that. It might be that in a few instruments. There's so many other variables to it. So it's important to use these things as tools.
And also that 800 bump might be good in something and you might want to just leave it. For example, I was privileged enough to get a stem session or to see a stem session of 24 karat Serban mix for Bruno Mars. And that vocal sounds so good. I have no complaints about how that mix is insane, by the way. It's one of my favorite pop mixes that Serban's ever done. And that vocal is
24 karat magic.
24 karat magic is what I meant. Sorry.
I was like 24K golden. He has a song with Bruno Mars coming out.
No, sorry. Yeah,
breaking news.
Sick. Yeah. Good one. But sorry, 24 karat magic.
Yeah.
And the vocal is super dense in that like 700 to 1K. Like it just sounds great though. If you solo it, it doesn't sound great, but it sounds very organic. And in the mix, it sounds like that. And it sounds great. And he left it because that was his choice. But if he looked at an analyzer like I did when I looked at it to study it, he might have thought, I should take that out because visually now I'm seeing that it's a problem. But it wasn't a problem. Shit sounds great.
Yeah, again, getting back to a lot of...
I don't have the stems. I can't share them. I don't have them. I was shown them.
Yeah.
It's not for me to have.
One of those, we're talking about techniques to try if you need to solve problems, not things to use when you're mixing all the time. All of these things are just tools.